Hello, and welcome to episode 82 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm James.
Thanks for bearing with us. James needed to get out of the Myrtle Beach area to recharge.
It was glorious.
Yeah, so of course, WotC dropped the biggest ban announcement maybe ever on our heads.
It was pretty insane. It was like out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, it was just like Ian Duke rolled out of bed and was like, let's murder some formats.
I got a hammer, let's swing it.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that a lot today. So if you want to get at us on Twitter, you can find us at Casual Tripod.
Yep. You can hit us up on Facebook at CasualTryHardMTG. If you want to drop us an email, you can do that at show@CasualTryHardMTG.com. We're going to do a little bit of finance talk a little bit later in the episode, so make sure if you're looking to pick up any singles, you use our TCG Player affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Anything you purchase after following that link will help support the show just a tiny little bit. If you want to support us a little bit more directly, you can do that at patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. Our patrons get early access to our show notes. I try and post them the day before the show goes live. And you also get to listen to our pre-show ramblings, which can be about anything and everything because we don't get to see each other anymore. So the only time that we really listen to each other, like actual voices, is before we record the show. So you get to hear about whatever's going on in our world.
I would like to say that James did don a mask, and he and his wife came over to drop off a package for the young Gavin.
That is true. We did.
Which we appreciated. And as we were showing him Gavin threw up on me. It was standard Gavin activities.
I expected no less.
Yes.
Yeah, I felt bad when you stopped over the other day because I was looking for my mask and I think I had just put it in the washing machine. I couldn't actually find it. So I answered the door maskless.
Yeah, well, I answered the door maskless when you showed up. We just stood far apart.
That's
it's
true.
Fine.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Sorry. Just kidding. The cough.
Okay.
Oh, no. So, and then we got one more thing, and that's the YouTube.
We do. We have a YouTube.
And James has already started politicking to do an Amonkhet draft.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Amonkhet. I kind of dug it.
Yeah.
And I know I've got some time this weekend free, and I
find
think we've got a little bit of time free this weekend, so hopefully we'll get that recorded and get it posted. I'd like to do it actually before the weekend, but we'll see if that happens.
We should try to at least do something for each set. One day, people. One day.
One day we'll get our act together.
And then we have the Discord, which has been relatively active as of late, and a lot of people have come in.
Yeah, there was a lot of new faces in there. I was pleasantly surprised when I saw that while I was on vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, was kind of busy not thinking about anything, so I wasn't super active while I was gone, but I chimed in once or twice.
Yeah, so did I. Parenting and whatnot, but hey, I gotta parent and stay up to date on the hottest new standard format. So
oh man.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the hottest new standard format. What happened?
So on Monday, Wizards abandoned their previous precedent around the banned and restricted announcement. And you
mean the banned and restricted announcement?
Yes. Hey, you have a week to not buy cards / emotionally prepare for this. And they just came out and were like, boom, bans. And it was when are these bans being enforced? Right now. As you're reading this, these cards have been banned on all platforms.
Yeah, that was kind of weird, too, because the title of the article was set for 5 days after the announcement. Huh. Did you notice that?
No.
Yeah, it said August 8th, then it came out on the 5th or something, or the 3rd.
They may have just changed their mind. They've been why bother? They may have been planning to do the announcement or whatever, and then we're just why bother? So before we get into what got banned, their rationale for changing their ban announcement was no one plays with paper cards. So we are right now a wholly digital game.
Right.
So
in their eyes, at least.
Yeah. I mean, they're still making paper product, but the only way anyone's interacting with their game right now is digitally.
There's a lot of buzz about like playing over Skype or video or whatever. Like there's a lot of people playing Commander over video. I've seen Pioneer Leagues, like paper Pioneer Leagues played over video.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
for the most part, people are just playing digitally.
I have a tripod for my phone and a ring light. We can make this happen. Oh, yeah. Or I'll be on TikTok before it gets banned. One of the two. But they were like, hey, we're a digital game now. And we don't need to put this 1 week lead time in for you to put together a new deck for F&M or whatever, because you're just playing digitally. So we're just going to ban this now and try to fix our digital offering so that, you people are more happy. Yep. I personally, when I saw the BNR, I thought that, so Pioneer, I think we mentioned this before, Pioneer had not been firing on Magic Online.
Right.
And I was like, I'm guessing that they're getting some, like, terrible data for Arena.
Probably.
Where it's like, what else do people have to do? And people's responses are anything but this. And so, because I mean, me personally, I've chewed through like 3 or 4 video games, and I haven't like played a video game start to finish in years. And I've chewed through 4 since the end times.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure that goes for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that were like, well, I'm not having fun like grinding standard, so I'm going to go do something else. So Wizards, I think, might have had to be like, we need to do something because, I don't know, Q3 is looking pretty bad on paper sales.
Yeah.
We got to like move some digital stuff.
Yep.
So what were the bans?
So we lost in standard. We lost Wilderness Reclamation, Growth Spiral, Teferi, and Cauldron Familiar.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So they basically nuked all of the top tier decks.
Yeah. My favorite of those bans was the explanation for why Cauldron Familiar got banned.
All right, let's enlighten people if they haven't read the release.
It was like, it's too hard to click through on Arena.
Yeah, your digital game.
It's too hard to click through. Maybe you should make your digital game
easier to click through.
Yeah, it was like, of all the reasons, I mean, yes, like having Jund Sack be the new default best deck is a problem when, you're basically using an abacus to get through the end of your turn.
Right.
You're just like, click, 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 click. Oh, now I go to my turn. Click it again.
Click, click, click.
Yeah. So I can totally see, but I just thought it was funny. They were just like, yeah, this isn't really optimized for digital. It's like, why not?
Yeah. So,
yeah, they got rid of Wilderness Rec, which has been a problem for 18 months.
Yep.
They got rid of Growth Spiral, which has been a problem for 18 months.
Right.
They got rid of Teferi, which has been a problem for 15 months.
Yeah.
And they got rid of Cauldron Familiar, which just invalidated random decks.
Yeah, it made aggro really hard to play.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, it was clunky. Also, like Cauldron Familiar decks, it doesn't matter what's around the Cauldron Familiar. It's just like repetitive to play against. You know what I mean? If you see Witches of in Cauldron Familiar, number one, your game's going to take a while. And number two, it's like, exactly what's going to happen. Nothing is ever going to change that interaction. You know what I mean? It's just going to be there for the duration of the game.
Yeah, you're in a situation where, I think I've said this before, you know how the game's going to end.
Right.
You just know that it's going to take minimum 20 turns to get there.
Yeah.
Right. The game ends with you losing to getting pinged by a Cauldron Familiar.
Right.
Right. And I think that card would have been maybe not fine, but if it lost the you gain a life,
it certainly would have been better.
Right. Then you could try to race it.
Yeah.
Right. It wouldn't be like, I attack with a 3/3 and a 2/2, and they're like, well, block your 3/3, sack the cat, take 2, but I'll gain 1 back, so I only took 1.
Right.
Right.
So your swing for 5 only lost me 1 life.
Yeah, and like it basically blocks 4 power worth of attacker, and it's like it's just awkward.
Yeah.
If it was just the deal 1 damage, like I think it's better because again it's raceable. But so basically we've now removed all but one of the big mana engines out of standard. Right?
Yeah, which one's left?
Nissa.
Yeah.
Which we were talking in the pre-show that we were playing a Temur deck that had Niv Mizzet in it for reasons that make no sense.
It's a fun card.
It is a fun card. But every time my Sultai Ramp opponent resolved Nissa, I went, oh my god, I have to kill this right now or the game ends. Like every single time. So we've lost Wilderness Wreck and Fires. So there's only one way to double your mana. But oh no, it's limited to just forests. Too bad you can play pretty much mono forests and still get other colors of mana.
Oh yeah.
Well, with the Triomes and the Shocklands.
Yeah.
Right. But that's good that we've lost a 4 mana enchantment engine.
Mm-hmm.
Growth Spiral just kind of like propped up kind of all the ramp decks. Like between Growth Spiral and Uro, you just had too many of the Explore type effect.
Right. I think that problem is compounded with Nissa though.
Yeah, because then you just get to Nissa sooner.
Into it, and you're getting extra forests for Nissa. So, like, you get Nissa earlier, and you have, all of the forests that you want.
Yeah, like I think if Growth Spiral stays, you just end up playing a bunch of. Well, I think the Sultai decks are just way better.
Yeah.
Or whatever, like Temery mid-range deck.
Right.
So we talked about how Cauldron Familiar prevented like attacking on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Teferi prevented playing at instant speed, so it's another card that just kind of like invalidated a large swath of text boxes.
Well, I think Teferi also prevented like traditional mid-range.
Yeah,
because we've said a bunch of times on the show that all mid-range has been lately in standard is who can go bigger. And I mean, that's not really mid-range, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're kind of rampy decks that.
Yeah, and like Teferi is the driving force behind that. Like Teferi just locks up turns 3 through 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nothing can happen in those turns because it's all about Teferi.
Yeah, because what ends up happening is, right, you play your 3-drop, and if it's not something that gets you value immediately, it just gets bounced to your hand.
And they draw a card.
Yeah, and so that eliminates a large number of possible 3-drops you can play, which is why a lot of the creatures that are getting played, they've just stapled haste onto.
Yeah.
Because, like, Gruul Spellbreaker without haste is, like, stone unplayable.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just play it on 3 and your opponent bounces it.
Right.
Right? Same with, like, Questing Beast. Questing Beast has to have haste. A super green ability, haste.
Yeah.
Because if you just played your Questing Beast and it just got bounced...
Right.
Like, the game just ends.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so you can't play a 3-drop that doesn't do something or have haste.
Mm-hmm.
Because because it's like bounce, and then like you said, the next turn has to be, how do I get rid of the Teferi?
Right.
And then the turn after that has to be, did I get rid of the Teferi? Okay, how do I get rid of it? Because then they just bounce your play again.
Right.
While they're still doing other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, Teferi sometimes is kind of almost like an Uro.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Where it draws you a card, gains you 3 life.
Yeah, prevents some damage.
Yeah, and instead of, like, putting you ahead on mana, it puts them behind on mana.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, that effect is no good. Have you seen any screenshots of the, like, Wizards, like, help section for Arena?
No.
There are people that were writing saying that Teferi was bugged because my opponent didn't plus this turn, but I can't play any of my spells. It must be bugged.
Oops.
Why don't you fix this? Like, the +1's not active. I can't cast my spells. This is bugged. You need to fix it. So there was at least some part of the player base that I assume, is newer or less enfranchised
static ability
that didn't realize that the card just made it so you couldn't do anything. People were like, I can't cast this spell to kill it. And it's like, that's literally the point.
Right.
But
that's why people play the card.
Yeah, but if you have a large section of your player base that's like, this is super dumb, this is no fun, clearly you couldn't have meant for the card to do this.
Right.
Because who would make a card that does this? You might have a problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they took care of, like, some problem cards. And I think Cauldron Familiar, which may have become a problem in the future.
That was one of the things that they said in the article was, like, part of the reason for the ban was because they didn't like the play patterns and it wasn't fun, whatever. But part of it also was to prevent future issues. Like, all the rest of these cards would have rotated in September, except for Cauldron Familiar, which would have stuck around and still had this insane value engine that just, ends games eventually.
Yeah. Are we rapidly approaching on Throne of Eldraine having the most banned cards ever?
Oh, probably.
We're at 4?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, Mirrodin had more, right? Because it had all 5 artifact lands.
But we have Oko, Fires, Cauldron Familiar.
Once Upon a Time.
I don't think I'm missing one. I guess M20 has Agent, Field, and Veil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was standard. Like, I think they just wanted to get people... So this is also another thing to point out, as I cut off my thought, is this is the point in every standard where everyone stops playing.
Just in general, traditionally, yeah.
Yeah, like August into rotation, people just stop because, like, why do I want to play a whole bunch with this format? Because it's going to, like, be totally gone in a month and a half.
Yeah, it's never going to exist again. The decks typically don't port to other formats.
Right. I mean, if you think about a year ago, this was when we just ran dinosaurs into vampires.
Right.
And like, no one was super thrilled about that format.
Yeah.
Not so much that it was bad, as much as it was, why bother? Because Sorin's a good card, but Sorin's only a good card because Ixalan's in the format.
Right.
And as soon as Ixalan goes away, Sorin becomes bulk.
Right.
Which effectively happened. A bulk mythic, so it's like $2 or $3 or whatever. Maybe a little bit more because it was a vampire commander stuff. But my point being that you just, like, people just lose interest. So this is a good way to get people excited about the format. Is to be like, hey, it's a totally new format. Like, you can start brewing around interactions that you might get to play in the next format. Because these things that were oppressing everything are now gone.
Yeah. We're going to come back and touch on that a little bit later in the episode. But basically what Wizards said, like in their opening statement for the standard section, was that they realized that everything was going to rotate anyway. So it wasn't, super needed right now, but they did want to make changes to shake up the metagame. That was one of their driving forces behind the announcement. So, yeah.
So then next was the Pioneer bands.
So before we talk about the actual bands, they made 2 kind of interesting statements reasons behind the bans that they made. Number one is something that everybody's been saying for a while, and you've talked about, and I think we've talked about it on the show before, and that's that all you can do in Pioneer right now is combo.
Yeah, and it comes down to something that happens in formats is like you get cards that were never meant to be together, but they're there. But then the answers that like exist in older formats
aren't there either.
So you get these you get 80% of a modern combo deck.
Right.
but you're missing all the interaction that would be useful against it.
Right.
Or something like that. So you get like, so then the format kind of splits to trying to get under the combo deck and the combo deck.
Right.
Which is where, like, if you think about Pioneer, even back in February, right, it was like, a bunch of aggressive decks, Inverter, Lotus Field.
Right.
And then, like, Niv kind of doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Living his best life. But yeah, so the metagame was very combo heavy.
Yep. And the other thing that they said was that they saw a large decrease in the number of players that were entering the Magic Online events.
Yes, and this is something that has been brought up repeatedly, that they couldn't, like, the 16-person, like, challenges or whatever 32-person events wouldn't fire.
Yeah.
You couldn't get 16 people on a Saturday to want to play Pioneer.
Yeah. So, like, I had a couple questions about that statement. Like, is it because Pioneer was bad? I mean, I'm sure that's partially to do with it, but there's also like a couple other things going on here. There was, in the time period that they stated they had, a large decrease in the number of players in Magic Online Pioneer events, they also just like injected a whole bunch of cards into Historic and had a Historic tournament that mattered.
Yeah.
Were people just playing Historic because it was new and there was something that mattered attached to it?
I mean, it could be that. It could also just be, I was trying to think of like a good analogy, but I don't know, like if you can play Pong on an Atari,
yeah,
or play Pong on a PlayStation 4, right? That's the same game.
Yeah.
But one's going to be way more polished and have way more bells and whistles and look way nicer and be easier to use.
Right.
You're going to gravitate to the one that's easier to use.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you're going to be like, I'm going to play the PlayStation 4 version of Pong because, man, it looks really good.
Yeah.
As opposed to playing the, Atari version, which is basically Magic Online. The Atari of Magic.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how much of that is just like, I don't want to play on Magic Online because Arena's a better interface.
Right.
And also, like, this is something that I have found is just being untenable, which is, so the rental services are fine.
Yeah.
The one that we tried was meh, but whatever. A lot of people swear by them, right?
Yep.
But even if you want to put together, like, I wanted to put together, like, just, like, a tier Z, like, deck for Pioneer on Magic Online.
Mm-hmm.
That's, if I just wanted to buy it, it was, like, $200 or $300.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, even if you have people that are like, I play Arena, this Pioneer thing sounds cool, I will get over the hurdle to use Magic Online.
Yeah.
But now I've got to spend $200 or $300 to put together the deck I want to play.
I was just going to say, a lot of times, like, the decks for Magic Online aren't any cheaper than decks in paper, especially now that Arena's here. Like, people don't draft on Magic Online anymore. So a lot of those, like, a lot of the cards that would normally be injected into the economy just don't exist because people aren't drafting.
Yeah. And then, so you have that, like, where it costs money, or you have to use a rental service where you have to, like, go to, like, some third-party site, get your cards, go into the client and do all this, like, stuff.
Yeah.
And it's, like, it's just a very high hurdle. Yeah. So even, like, if there's a bunch of excitement around Pioneer, if the format gets a little stale, people are going to, like, jump ship.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know how many people are going to spend, like, have the collections to, like, grind Pioneer to make the iterations and make the changes needed. And, like, the other thing, which we've brought up before, is, like, why am I going to play Pioneer? Why am I going to jump through all these hoops if there's nothing of, like, value, like, attached to it? And again, we're paper boomers, right? We consider like value like physical tournaments that have like meaning.
Right.
Right? Like maybe I would like, go through the rigmarole of getting a rental service if I had a Pioneer GP in November.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, okay, I want to spend my time trying to make sure I'm ready for this tournament.
Right.
Right. Okay, Magic Online, you're going to get my money for me to enter these events.
Right, for the next month or two or whatever.
Yeah. But instead, like, there's none of that.
Right.
Right? It's like playing Magic Online to, like, win a tournament so you can then try to win a tournament to qualify for the Pro Tour or something.
Right, which is going to be an arena anyway.
At your house.
Right.
That you're going to have to, like, have an arena collection for.
Yeah.
So why don't I just, like, try to get my arena collection and then do the qualifying through arena?
Yeah.
Seems easier.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that, like, just saying, well, the format's bad, so that's why no one's playing Pioneer, is part of it. And so I watched Saffron Olive played Pioneer Dredge, just, like, flip your own deck over, play Uros, and get prized amalgams and silver smoke ghouls and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But he repeatedly said at the beginning of his video, I've been on a Pioneer hiatus because the format was so bad.
Yeah.
So there was probably some of that as well. Just, well, I don't want to play the format because the format's no good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that go into why they weren't getting things to fire. So what did they ban? What went away?
All of the combo decks.
Like,
we lost
literally all of them.
Yeah, we lost Inverter of Truth, which means that deck cannot exist anymore.
It cannot.
Lost.
It can kind of exist in Modern, but it doesn't have the good delve cards that empty its graveyard.
Right.
So it basically can't exist anywhere.
Right. We lost Kethis, which means that deck cannot exist anymore, even though it had previously been shadow banned like 17 times.
Yes. Well, they gave us Oath of Nissa back, and then people started playing Kethis and started doing well with it, and they were just like, nope, can't, nope, can't have that happen.
Yeah. We lost Walking Ballista, which was the Heliod combo, right?
Yeah, so apparently Mono White was doing really well because you would just play like a Walking Ballista and then get a second counter on it somehow, play a Heliod, give it lifelink, and kill someone. So the exact combo that everyone who saw Heliod saw, within 5 minutes of Heliod being spoiled, they banned it now.
Yep. And we also lost Underworld Breach.
Which, printing a better Yawgmoth's Will was a bad idea.
Surprise, surprise.
And everyone who saw that card said, this is a better Yawgmoth's Will. Why are you printing a card that is restricted in Vintage?
Right.
Into all the formats.
Yep.
So they went to, I guess they just decided that they were going to just get rid of all the combo, get rid of like future combo, because Kethis wasn't really killing it.
Right.
But Kethis could just get there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Walking Ballista died for Heliod Sins.
Mm-hmm.
And Underworld Breach is a horrific Magic card that is somehow banned in Pioneer and Legacy, but is free to chill out in Modern because no one has cared enough to break it. It can't be okay in Modern.
I mean, I don't think anyone really cares about Modern, though.
Fair.
It's kind of the same arguments for Pioneer apply to Modern. Like, the only way to play Modern right now is on Magic. It's a garbage program. The deck renting sites are a little bit awkward and make you feel like you're cheating somehow. And then there's no events. So why are you putting all this money into Modern on Magic Online if there's no events? Yeah,
but just like, it's just funny that it's like, it's too good for Pioneer.
Yeah.
Too good for Legacy. But it's fine for Modern.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So it's funny that they're like, people just don't like playing combo decks. Why do you keep printing busted combo cards
Yeah.
if you don't want people to play combo.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, Inverter is only good because of Thassa's Oracle, right? And to be honest, Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, not exactly an okay card either.
Right.
Right? Like, having the weird alternate win condition stapled onto it. Right? So basically, a War of the Spark card, and then a year later, or 9 months later, a Throne of Eldraine card, get Inverter banned when Inverter had saw 0 play since
Actual
it was
0.
printed.
Yeah, I don't even think I saw play in limited.
Yeah, it was, because I tried, like, okay, I'm going to play a 4-mana 6/6 and have 3 cards in my deck. You're at 20. Yeah. Oh, wait, the math doesn't work. I still die.
Oops.
Oh, no, you killed it. Well, I'm boned.
Yeah.
Right, so they print 2, like, alternate win condition cards that win on the same alternate win condition.
Yeah.
Within a year of each other. So they have to get rid of Inverter, right?
Yeah.
Weird. Like, Kethis does not read like a combo card.
No, yeah, that's really strange.
It's a value-y mid-range card is how it reads, but you printed a Mox.
Right.
And so you just get, like, free Moxes. You get free mana from Kethis. So, like, Kethis really goes away because of Mox Amber?
Yeah, kind of.
Right? Like, because, I mean, you play some pretty bad cards around Kethis, like Diligent Excavator.
Yeah,
is not like,
exactly tearing it up.
No, but that's what you have to do. But that card isn't like a combo card. It's really Mox Amber. Like, if Mox Amber wasn't in the format, Kethis doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So this goes...
Emery. I mean, Emery helps too.
Emery helps too, but, like, still, you can't... The way that deck wins is it just loops Mox Ambers.
Right.
And generates mana so it can Thassa's Oracle. And, well, if you didn't print, like, a Mox Amber... Like, that card, they tried to make it so it wasn't good. They didn't get there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not good outside of, a specific combo deck.
Yeah, outside of degenerate decks.
Right.
It's not good. So then why did you print the card that's only good in degenerate decks if you're like, people don't like degenerate decks?
Yeah.
Because the degenerate deck was in Standard.
It was.
It's not like they... can say, oh, we don't play test Pioneer or Modern, so we missed it.
Right.
No, son. It was in Standard, the format you're supposed to play test.
Yeah.
And then Walking Ballista is, like we said, for Heliod, and again, everyone saw that combo within like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that slid by.
Well, I mean, Walking Ballistas, this isn't the first time Walking Ballista's been in the crosshairs. Walking Ballista was, part of the kill for that mono green Nykthos deck too, right?
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about like it's where you put infinite mana now.
Right.
Right. It is homogenized all the ways to win if you can generate infinite mana. Yep. Right. So, like Devoted Vizier of Remedies, Devoted Druid.
Yeah.
Right. That's your kill condition.
Right.
So it's just homogenized all of those decks to be, like, to have the same win condition. Yeah. But, like, we weren't generating infinite mana in Pioneer. We were generating we just had to get 2 counters on it.
Yeah.
To win. And so it's funny that, like, again, a card that was printed in January gets...
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in Pioneer... Walking Ballista without Heliod was fine.
Yep.
But again, it's a card that's always, if you can make a bunch of mana, you're just always going to put it into Walking Ballista.
Mm-hmm.
And then I already said my piece on Underworld Breach. Card's stupid. Yep. Why did you print it? It broke Legacy for like a month.
Right.
Right, when the only thing you were supposed to do was play Teferi into Underworld Breach, combo you out on turn 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was all the format was?
Yeah.
Like, this card does nothing good. So I don't know why they keep printing cards that do nothing good.
Right.
And then are like, huh, this card didn't do anything good.
Well, I mean, they did one thing good.
They moved some packs for a while.
They sure did.
But, like, I don't know, like, I fundamentally disagree with the, like, you have to push power level to move packs.
Oh, no, I completely agree with you. There was a long time where the game was very good and power level was not super pushed. It, came in cycles. There'd be, good sets and bad sets and sets in the middle, and like power level kind of it wavered, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
It didn't like just keep crawling towards the sky or shooting towards the sky like a rocket ship like it has been doing.
Yeah. This really changes Pioneer. I think it does two things. Right now, it's pushing Pioneer to be a little more mid-rangey, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're also going to see a lot of like the monocolored aggro decks because they're super strong.
Right.
And I think that, this is the time if you're a brewer to find the next turn 4 combo deck.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is going back to what Sam Black tweeted in November when the format was first put out, which is like, if you're
job is to break it.
Yeah, if you're making a deck and you can't pick out the cards that need to be banned, your deck's not good enough.
Right.
And just because you banned Inverter, Kefis, Ballista, and Underworld Breach, right, there's still, I do believe it's up here on the shelf, still sleeved. I might have unsleeved it, or at least in perfect fits, is the old Lotus Field combo.
Yep.
Like, that deck still exists.
Yep. And there's also the deck that you want to brew, right?
Yeah, like Song of Creation, if you can, like, it's a little sketchy with mono black aggro being so prevalent, like just getting Thoughtseized out of a game.
Yeah.
But, in Historic, I can count on one hand the number of times I've resolved a song and not won.
Yeah.
And I've played that deck a lot. No, I've played it in Best of One. I don't know how it fares when they have a sideboard.
Right.
But I also know that you just take out all your songs and you put in Saheeli's and Sighs. You play a Sigh, and then you proceed to make like 6 Thopters, and you say go.
It's like making goblins instead of grape shotting people.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, you brought in 3 ways to kill an enchantment, did you? Haha. Right. I brought in a 1/4 that made 5 friends. And now we are hoping you don't have a way to sweep away his 5 friends. Let's go.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm now going to sacrifice all these garbage artifacts that I played to draw more cards to do this again. Right? So it has a juke. But yeah, like you should be trying to find that next combo deck because the time to play combo, again, we're not getting to play, but the time to play a combo deck is oftentimes when people think that they've banned combo out of existence, right? The time to play Dredge is when they ban a card out of Dredge and everyone goes, Dredge is dead.
Yeah, I don't need my rest in pieces this weekend.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm gonna play my 4 Thoughtseizes, I'm covered. I'm not gonna have any Duresses in my sideboard because I need more removal to deal with the creature decks.
Yep.
Right? And you're like, cool. I'm not gonna play any creatures. I'm gonna get you. Right? So, finding that next deck is, you also had the epiphany of, we still have, this format has, what is it called? Paradoxical Outcome.
Yes, it does.
Right? So you just boarded to a Psi Paradoxical Outcome deck. You're like, turn 3, like, play a bunch of Tormod Scripts and Bone Saws and Ornithopters. Turn 4, pick them all up.
Yep.
Do it again.
Draw all of the cards.
Here's my Astral Cornucopia. Now pick them all up. Right? Like,
hang on, what's that card do?
Do you know what that card does?
What happens. I know what it does. That's usually what happens when you play an Astral Cornucopia, though.
It's XXX for an artifact. You put a charge counter on Astral Cornucopia for each X. So like if it's 1, you pay 3 mana, you get to put 1 counter on it, and you get to tap and choose a color of mana, and you get to make that color of mana.
Each counter on it.
For each counter on it. Yeah. It is effectively it's the only 0 mana rock that is legal in Pioneer. We don't have Everflowing Chalice.
Yeah.
But it's a 0 that stays around that has secret mode of didn't hit my 4th land drop, but I played this on turn 3. So now I can cast my spell. Secret mode.
Achievement unlocked.
Yes.
Actually cast it.
Actually cast spell. Hey, yeah, I have playing that deck, I have found that Ugin's Conjurant has a secret mode of being a 2/2.
It does.
It's like, oh, I need to block a Muxus this turn and then kill them. 2/2. Muxus, block, go to 1. Yep. Play land, combo off, kill you. GG's. Yeah, like this is the time to try to push the envelope in Pioneer and find that next deck. Because there are enough cards that there's a combo deck in the format. Like basically, Inverter, like we kind of backed into because they printed a ridiculous combo card. And Kethis, the Check House made a standard deck. And then when it rotated out and they announced Pioneer, it was like, we just get to play the standard deck, right? And they're like,
yeah, with
Urborg. And there's like, ooh, upgrade. Yeah, and that was the deck. Better. Yeah, and that was the deck. It's like, I get Oath of Nissa, Hope of Ghirapur, and Urborg. Cool. This deck's way better now. So
you want to bring this full circle? And since you were just talking about how, now's the time to find the next combo deck, does any of this actually matter if there's no events? Like, are people going to go back to Pioneer because they banned combo out of it?
I've seen more tweets about Pioneer recently on like Arena Deck List, and Todd Anderson was streaming Pioneer, which is something he hadn't done in a while. So I think there might be a little bit more interest, but at the same time, like, you're not going to get that broad interest because it's locked behind the Magic Online paywall.
Right.
If they bring enough of Pioneer to Arena that people feel like they're getting an authentic Pioneer experience,
right,
I think that you're going to see a ton more interest. I think that it runs the risk of Historic becoming like wholly irrelevant.
I mean, I think that's a real thing anyway.
Yeah, like I know
they're trying to pump a whole bunch of like cards that aren't in Pioneer into Historic, but I also don't know that matters.
I think the only way it matters is if they do an Arena Open with Historic, or they do a Players Tour with Historic. But then it's going to be kind of like how Modern was when it was a Pro Tour format. Modern was a thing that was happening, and a lot of people played Modern. But Modern would rise to like the top of the Magic consciousness basically every like October. Right? Yeah. Starting in October, it was like, oh yeah, the Modern Pro Tour is coming up in January. I need to like figure out the metagame, and I need to start like, focusing on what my deck's going to be. Right? Yeah. There was always like, I think it was the fall was Modern season.
Yeah.
When they would have the Modern PTQs and things like that. Right? But then like in the spring and summer, Modern was there, but not at the forefront.
Yeah.
Right? And I think Historic might do something similar where they do a gimmicky tournament for Historic.
Yeah.
And so people care, but then Pioneer will be the eternal format on Arena that people go to and play.
Right.
As like an escape from Standard.
Yep.
As opposed to Historic. Because I think that's all Historic is. I think Historic is, oh man, I don't want to play Standard right now. I'm going to play some Historic. Goblin. Yeah. I mean, that's what it was for me. I was like, I need to get 4 wins. I want to play approximately 16 turns.
Yeah.
I'm going to play Song of Creation combo. I'm going to mulligan to Song, and if I draw my 4th land, I'm going to win the game, and if I don't, I'm going to lose. Right. Okay, let's play some polarized games here. Speaking of Historic and our escape, Historic was wrought with unfun play patterns and repetitiveness.
Yeah, and why was that?
Because of Wilderness Reclamation and Teferi. So by extension, one could say that Standard was full of unfun play patterns and repetitiveness due to Wilderness Reclamation and Teferi.
Out of Standard?
Yeah. It's like they weren't doing good they weren't like being fun in Standard but too omnipresent, but being unfun in Historic.
Right.
So they got rid of Wilderness Reclamation and Teferi, Time Raveler. So if you missed it, again, I will give him his full title. Our Lord and Savior, Croaky's greatest Magic player alive. He had sent out a tweet where he was like, I apologize for putting Wilderness Reclamation into Historic. Right. And basically he was just playing Temur Rec with Field of the Dead.
Right.
So you had I'm going to play Field of the Dead, and if you don't answer that, I'm just going to bury you with zombies. And if you focus on beating my zombies, I'll just explosion you for everything.
Right.
And oops, I also have an Uro. So basically, he was playing the deck that would be in Standard if nothing was banned.
True.
Like, think about that. We just, like, Field of the Dead existed in Standard for, 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of forget that it should still be here.
Should still be here.
And the only way you had to interact with that card was Field of the Dead. Not Field of the Dead, Field of Ruin. Which, not good enough.
Right. Not good enough.
So basically, that deck went from not existing to, the only thing to do in Historic. Partly because of Magma Quake.
Yeah.
Because you know what you need to give the deck that has infinite mana at instant speed? An instant speed Wrath.
Yeah.
So, good job, Jumpstart / Historic team. You know what?
From the team that brought you Muxus.
That card is an atrocious design as well.
Yeah.
In Muxus's defense, Muxus is A+, 100%, an absolutely fine commander.
It is.
100%. I want to play goblins, and I don't want to play Kranko as my commander.
Yep.
Congratulations, Muxus.
Yeah.
It is not okay in a format where people are, seriously playing the card Empyrean Eagle.
Unironically.
Yeah, that they're I'm going to flash to my Spectral Sailor. I'm going to play this 2/2 that reduces the cost of all my flyers, and now I'm going to play an Empyrean Eagle on turn 3. I'm going to attack you for 6. And you're just 40 you. Your move. It's no, not okay together. And then the other card that they took out of Historic was Teferi. Again, see much of their player base confused and thinking the card is bugged.
Yeah. Also not fun and repetitive.
Yeah. So what's going to happen? Well, you see, they're going to tap 3 mana, and if they resolve a Teferi, I'm going to have to concede the game.
Yeah.
Why? Because you see how these cards in my hand all say instant?
I can't play any of them.
They don't do anything anymore.
Right.
So that's bad? Oh, that's real bad. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It says counter target spell. I could just set this aside now.
Actually does nothing.
I kept wanting to bring this up as we were talking about the Historic and Standard bans.
Yeah.
But part of why they did this was it seemed like they were responding to a lot of outcry from the community.
I'm glad you feel the same way, because I could see this next section that I have written here being kind of exactly like what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody's going to agree with it or not. It was just something that I had witnessed and felt, and I wanted to kind of get my feelings out there and let some people know that like there comes a point where you have to like think on your own a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After the last BNR, where I think everybody pretty much agreed that they didn't do enough, it definitely feels like they tried to fix that this time around, right?
Yeah, it feels like they were like, well, what are the cards that everyone's complaining about?
Right.
Let's get rid of those.
Right. And since this BNR, it's kind of a good thing that we had to give it a couple days for me to get back in town and to record this episode. I've seen, I don't want to single anybody out because it's not like a specific problem to a content creator, but I have seen multiple content creators say that this BNR went too far. There's too many bans. I guess I don't know what you expect Wizards to do. You know what I mean? Like they are still people and their job is extremely difficult. The whole part of their game that is social kind of lends itself to content creation and to streaming and to podcasts and to everything else. And the whole game behind that is like social media, right? So whatever you have, whatever people you're talking to, you want to try and rally behind you. And hopefully that turns into more people and more people and more people. So content creators are incentivized to be very polar. Either this is the most broken deck that's ever existed, or this is the worst idea that's ever happened in Magic. And there's nothing in the middle. Like there's no good job, Wizards of the Coast. There's no, okay, this was fine. Everything is either the best thing that's ever happened or the worst thing that's ever happened.
That's consistent in and like kind of all of life. People are really hard at nuance, or really bad at nuance, right? Yeah. It's either this is the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. It's hard to find that happy middle ground. Continue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's basically it, is that like since this announcement, I thought it was a good announcement. They were all changes that I was thinking about and things that I thought, would improve the format some. Now, granted, I don't know that they should have banned all combo out of Pioneer. Like, I think combo is fine to have around in some measure, but there's people that are saying it's too much now. And like, is that really their opinion, or are they
trying to get clicks?
Yeah, trying to get clicks, trying to make a name for themselves. You know what I mean? Like, it puts Wizards in a really tough spot where they have to kind of balance, like, what's actually happening in the game versus what, the people with pitchforks and torches are saying.
The perception of what's going on in the game. So my new favorite Twitch streamer, AnzidMTG, again, he's Anurag. I think it's Anurag, or Anu. He makes CFP videos now on Legacy. They're great.
Yeah,
you should watch them. I've watched two where he does where he just sits down with someone who is like kind of a Magic Online grinder expert on a certain deck, and just walks you through like every single decision they had. Like Bryant Cook, who made Tess, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've played over like 700 matches with this deck since they banned Loris."
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, so like he goes through something, but anyway, he pointed out, he was like, I don't like social media because like the nuanced take, or the thing that is, like measured, doesn't get a reaction. Right. You have to like turn it up, but you have to do social media. It's part of the job. So you have a lot of people that are having to make a lot of hot takes to like stay relevant. Yeah. But I was going to say, like, while they might be responding to community outcry, there's part of me that's like, Wilderness Wreck and Teferi were legal for too long, if anything.
Yes. No, I agree. Like I said, I think most of these bans are completely fine and the right thing to do. It just really struck me as like poor taste for, in some cases, the exact same people that were clamoring for more bans are now on the train of there's too many bans. And the only thing that makes sense in my mind is that it's for clicks.
The only thing I can say is that to counter that is maybe it's one thing to say there needs to be bans, but then when it happens and you look at the size of the ban list, right? I don't know if there are too many bans is coming from a place of, I wish these cards were legal, or there's been a failure in development and design.
Yeah.
Thus, we have too many bans. Because one thing would be like, oh, they need to ban Growth Spiral. Oh, the card's awful. But then a Growth Spiral gets banned, and you're like, I can't believe
I wish they had Growth Spiral.
Or I have thought that.
Yeah.
But because for the last year and a half, you just had Growth Spiral.
Right.
You're just used to it. But then you're just like, oh, man, I can't believe how big the ban list is. They've messed up.
Right.
And
right, but like that would be a fine take to have, though, and that's a take that we've had, and that's a take that other people have had. But that's not what I'm seeing right now.
But if
what I mean? There's a
if it's just like I can't believe they banned wilderness reclamation, and it's like fool. Like I can get the receipts of you saying wilderness reclamation should be banned.
Right.
Right. Like you can't have it both ways. You can't simultaneously be like wilderness reclamation is terrible and like pour one out for my homie wilderness reclamation. you can't do both. You got to pick a side.
Yeah.
And you picked your side 3 months ago, but now you're picking the other side because you can get engagement or something. I think that like part of the reason that they banned these is because they were getting bombarded with, I don't want to play Magic because of wilderness reclamation. And during the like PT finals, the number of people like, I can't believe how like trash you've let your flagship format become. Your game's unplayable because of this.
Yeah.
Did you see the drama that the like official WotC esports account?
No.
They were like, people were sliding into my DMs complaining about wilderness reclamation, but here I am with just playing all swamps in the PT finals, and like people just melted down. Just like, I can't believe you're saying this, and just like disregarding the feelings of so many of your player base. And I was like, calm down. Again, in the words of Mike Gundy, I'm a man, I'm 40. Like, calm down. Was it a not funny joke? Yes. But like Wizards started doing damage control.
Oh man.
All kinds of stuff. As people were like, oh, you still don't care about us, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it was a bad joke by, I'm assuming, someone who's like 24 and whose job is to like, they're paid in tweets per minute or something. They're like probably tweeting for 4 accounts. Like we can't.
You know how you stop sweeping the floor? You make good tweets. Now get on that.
Exactly. It's like, you know who's really high up in Twitter? Wendy's. And Wendy's Twitter account is just the meanest, most horrible thing ever. Some of their tweets are just absurd. What was the one? Hey, Wendy's, is it bad that I eat Wendy's in a McDonald's parking lot? And Wendy's response was, you probably raised the property value. Yeah. So, so people were so upset about playing the same decks.
Yeah.
And like, that's part of the problem. I think we said it before, is like, if the power creep was, we printed 10 10s a set, right? So now I can play 10 different decks that are playing a 10 each.
Right.
But what has happened, and this goes back to when we have really good mana in Standard, is if you print 3 10s, you can just, in 3 different colors, you can just put them all in the same deck.
Yeah, and especially when the 10s like help fix your colors or help, find you more colors or what.
Yeah, or, I think that, Uro might be like a 12.
Yeah.
And so you have to play Uro.
Right.
And then you just pick a color to play with Uro. But like when you have one or two cards that are just way more powerful than everything else, you just have to play those. So think about like Archangel Avacyn. Like that card was far and away the best card in that format. Mm-hmm. So you had to play white. Right. It was what do you want to do with white? But it was play white. Because you have to have Avacyn in your deck. Because it's an 11 and the next best card's a 9. Right. Right? And like they keep running into these problems where they keep printing these cards that are absurd. And then it just wraps the format around them. Or like the text box on the card isn't absurd, but then the circumstances of the format make the card absurd. Because I mean, even something like Cauldron Familiar, a 1-mana 1/1 that drains you when it comes into play is not a big deal. Right. But you combine it with Witch's Oven and Priest of Forgotten Gods and Mayhem Devil, right? Now you have a card that is just the cornerstone of a deck. Right. And you're just like, So they're just
according to your new favorite Legacy streamer, it's also Legacy playable.
Cauldron Familiar?
Yeah.
I've not seen this one.
Yeah,
the Aloran deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. But they keep printing, like, Underworld Breach, if you read that card.
Yeah.
Right? If you print that card and give it to someone who knows nothing about Magic, they're going to be like, oh, man, that card seems fine. I don't even know it doesn't do anything. Right?
Doesn't do anything.
But then you give it to someone who has, like, a deep understanding of everything that you can do, and that text box is absurd.
Well, it's like Bridge from Below, right?
Yeah, Bridge from Below.
The card does actual nothing.
It is black, black, black for no text box in play. It is 3 devotion to black.
Right.
But in the right deck, the card is nuts. Mm-hmm. So they keep printing those kind of cards, but then they throw in an Uro or, to some level like a Questing Beast.
Or
just
Oko.
Cards that, Oko. Just cards in any deck that can cast them are ridiculous.
Yep.
And then you're just like, oh, I have to play this now. So they're not going to have like a good like community like response until they kind of fix this design issue of like the pushed face card for the set. Right? Because think about like Embercoal. We got to put Embercoal on the box.
Yeah, it's got to be good.
It's got to be good. And they turn some knobs and they have to ban it because, oh my God, it's too good.
Right.
And so they just keep printing all of these, like, cards that are just kind of a little out of range of everything else. If the power on everything came up, like, that's crushing to old formats, but it makes standard fine. Right? If there are, like, 6 different decks you can play, that's fine. But when it boils down to, like, you can play 3 decks and the games play out the exact same way because that's just what happens, then that's where they have the problem.
Playing light Simic and dark Simic and spicy Simic.
Yeah. This is something that also has come up is we're super ban happy now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it is because they are printing these 12s. Mm-hmm. That like just can't be dealt with,
right?
Or if it's because people eventually just kind of like throw their hands up, go like, well, I don't want to deal with this anymore, and they banned this card, so they should ban this one as well.
Right. Well, I mean that was like when I won that last PTQ back when PPTQ back when we had them. I was playing the Golgari Explorer deck, and my opponent in the last round was playing Mono Red. And when I beat him, he went on this like rant for 20 minutes to anybody that would listen about how Wild Growth Walker needed to be banned. It's an unfair Magic card. Well, no, like Wild Growth Walker is a completely fine Magic card. And honestly, is just draft chaff, but because it countered his red deck, it had to be banned. Well, no, that's not how bans work. You know what I mean?
I think that Wild Growth Walker, I don't know if it was a fine Magic card, just because like it falls into the like Long Tusk Cub. What is like a 2-drop now that does the same thing? Like Runaway Steamkin, where like it's a 2-mana card that becomes like a 12/12, or I guess it's 12, like a 12/14, and you have to build around it to get paid off. It's like it's an uncommon build around, but like it's one of those cards that just feels weird. That it's like a Johnny's Pride Bait. Like a Johnny's Pride Bait when it's a 2/2, you're like whatever. When it's a 6/6, you're like, dear God, this 2-mana thing has totally outscaled everything.
Yeah,
and so it feels weird. It's like a DIY Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, but I mean, like traditionally, weird. that deck isn't like ban worthy though.
Oh no, I'm not agreeing, but I'm just saying it is a card that when it's the 1/3, it was a card that if you were playing red in any way, shape, or form, you had to answer immediately, or you lost the game. And and those are weird cards. I think we talked about it a while back, like your fundamental turn.
Yeah.
Like, when do you have to have interaction?
Right.
And you have to have interaction for that on turn 2, or the game ended if you played a mountain in your deck. We're just like, oh, okay, I'm done. I mean, it's similar to Edgewall Innkeeper and Lucky Clover.
Yes, that's true.
Right? Like, Edgewall Innkeeper, it's a 1-mana 1/1. Who cares? Until it draws them 8 cards.
Yeah.
And it's like,
or 3 cards in a turn.
Yeah, it's like, I have to have a shock or I just lose to this card.
Right.
And that's a weird place to be to a 1-mana 1/1. Right? I mean, it was like the Oko standard, right?
Yeah.
Like, I built an entire deck around having turn 1 shock.
Right.
To kill Gilded Goose so I could get an extra turn so I could draw interaction for an Oko. Right? My whole deck was built around I either have to have Shock or Mystical Dispute on turn 1 so that I can kill a Gilded Goose or counter an Oko. And it's like, and so those like low mana things that like spiral oftentimes aren't fun, but like that one is not ban worthy. I don't think that Edgewall Innkeeper is ban worthy. It's just a creature, but it does fundamentally change how you can play the game.
Well, I mean, like to a certain extent, Flourishing Fox was the same way.
Oh yeah, like,
I mean, not that the cycling deck is still around, but
which I think it could be. Like, I played against it in Best of 1, and I was like, oh yeah,
did you?
That entire deck's still here.
Yeah.
Right, like it's still.
You get the whole bunch of new cyclers with Amonkhet.
Oh, and Historic, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that deck's gonna be sweet as my go-to Historic Artisan deck.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was the F&M deck.
Yeah.
It was Historic Artisan, and I just was like, oh yeah, I still have cycling. I was like, yeah, this is great. It's like, imagine if I had cyclers I could actually cast instead of playing a bunch of blue cards in blue and black cards in my red-white deck.
Right.
But yeah, I think that they have this problem of like, one, the like the outsized power, and 2, particularly for draft, they have these build arounds.
Right.
And sometimes I feel like they turn them up a little too far.
Yeah.
And that's how we've gotten, we've talked about it before, like never before do I think that we got like a ready-made standard deck in like Adventures, just like out of a set. And then we got Mutate out of a set. And Cycling in the same set.
Energy was basically a deck out of a set too, though.
It was out of 2 sets, though, right?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
But
they don't do 2 sets anymore, though.
Yeah, but
like all of the pieces would have been there if if Kaladesh and Aether Revolt were in 1 set.
True, but you had these. They keep making. They're not like Energy was parasitic. It only worked with Energy.
Right. Well, so it's Mutate though.
Yeah, but they keep making these like parasitic mechanics. Like you can mutate onto a Arboreal Gracer.
Right.
Right. Like it has some interaction with other things, but like the cycling deck is parasitic and that it only wants other cyclers.
Right.
Right. But they keep making these like parasitic like draft archetypes that are just like a step too good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I miss the days of like cons where like...
Oh, the good old days. You're really showing your paper boomerness.
Yeah, I know. But like cons, like, you know, you played, it was Thoughtseize from Theros, Fleece Mane Lion,
right?
From like Theros or one of those sets.
Yeah.
And then like a couple Anafenzas, a Siege Rhino, and a Wingmate
Scavenging
Rock.
Ooze. Yeah.
Scavenging Ooze was from a core set. But
Yeah.
it wasn't just like, hey, I'm going to put all the morph cards into my deck.
Right.
Right? Because I think now if they made cons, the best deck in the format would be the morph deck. Like the morph payoffs that were like, you know, was it Trail of Mystery? You like flip over, when you unmorph something, you get to go get a land.
Yeah.
And then the other one, you flip something over and it gets a counter or you draw a card. I don't think it was you drew a card. Right? Those would be like way, way better.
Yeah.
Like Trail of Mystery would be like, you flip something over, you draw a card, and you get a land, and you put it onto the battlefield. Or
yeah,
something.
it's just Uro for unmorphing things.
Yeah, or it would be like unmorphing costs, morph cost one less to play.
Ooh.
And then when you unmorph something, you draw a card and get a land. It'd be something like that where you're just like it'd be dumb if I didn't play this. Why wouldn't I play this?
Right.
So like I think a lot of the like creativity in deck building goes away to some degree when you have a lot of decks that are just like, well, smash all the cards with the same keywords together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we kind of went off on a topic there from community outrage.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine. It's my fault. So we're going to talk about double masters.
Yep.
So I think we're both in the same boat that we have done like 0 drafts.
Right.
I've seen a little bit, but...
okay, you're up on me then. I have seen none and done none.
I've seen a little bit, like 1 or 2. People seem to be enjoying it. It does just have the like master set problem of the draft costs way, way, way too much for anyone to legitimately do. And you can't legitimately do a draft unless you're on Magic Online. See earlier issues of Magic Online.
Right.
The thing, though, we both have experience with...
A little bit of finance.
Sweet, sweet finance talk.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like reprints in the market. And obviously, like we haven't had master sets for a while, but obviously when a card gets reprinted, its value takes a hit. So reprints definitely affect the market. So when you're doing like specs or buying cards or just, you know, growing your collection for you to use at a later time or whatever, there's some things to keep in mind. And one of them is that, you know, if there's a card that's really expensive, that's, you know, a prime reprint target, like over the last, you know, 2 years, whatever, Wizards has shown that they are more than willing to reprint all of the cards at any time. With the exception of fetches.
They are aggressively reprinting cards. Like cards that like normally you wouldn't think would get reprinted.
Right.
They were going through in spoiler season, they were talking about that they put engineered explosives in this set.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my engineered explosives for like $40. They're like $10 now.
Yeah, a lot of cards like that
and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad.
Yeah, like just think about the last 6 months. We had Mystery Boosters, Jumpstart, and Double Masters that were like, all like just reprints.
Weren't like Send triplets super expensive before Mystery Boosters?
Uh-huh.
And now they got reprinted in Double Masters, and I think you could buy one for $3.
Yes.
And like that was like $100 card.
The foil was.
The
normal one was like $50.
It's $3 now.
Yeah.
It went from $50 to $3 in the span of 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to think about, and it kind of highlights the dangers of, just randomly buying into cards.
Yeah.
So I know, like when you and I were, evaluating double masters or thinking about what we wanted to purchase, I don't even think we actually had this conversation. We were just both on the same page, where really the only things that we cared about in this set was, I mean, there's a couple exceptions, but basically the box toppers.
Yeah. I cared about like low end collection filling things.
Yeah, like I think I picked up some ad nauseums, and I picked up some oubliettes.
Okay,
I think I got basalt monoliths too.
I got Shroom the Hegemon, and I got Glimmer Void because I didn't have any Glimmer Voids. But then other than that, I kind of looked at what had happened with what are they called? It's like masterpieces.
Yeah.
Where when they were in print, they were super cheap. And now 4 years on, cards that I spent between $25 and $40 for are $100+.
Mm-hmm.
And
like that's kind of what I wanted to focus on, was like a smarter way to invest. The first thing about like finance that I'm sure, everybody has heard beat to death is the reserve list, right? So the reserve list is cards that Wizards has promised to never reprint. And like reserve list is however you feel about it, like it's not going away, it's there. And I think everybody knows how to invest around reserve list cards. Since the announcement of Double Masters, reserve list cards have started to move again. They were kind of flat for a long time. Not exactly sure what's causing them to move right now. Like there's, other than collectors, people aren't playing with them. Like there's no paper events. So I don't know. I don't really know what's causing them to move right now. But it started off with like some EDH staples and then kind of moved into like some of the mid-tier reserve list cards that had started to spike last time. There was reserve list movement. And now like the revised duels are coming back up again. I think Tiegas are like $260 now. Savannahs are $200.
The low-end dual lands are just absurdly expensive now.
Yeah.
I think
even out across the board some.
If you were to think about this as if you were like a collector/investor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you had a bunch of Karns, right? And you've seen Karn reprinted like 3 times.
Right.
Right. At some point, you just have to be like, I can't keep these anymore.
Right.
They're just going to reprint this into the ground.
Mm-hmm. And they have. I mean, Karn
I got
a
mine
year
for
ago was $100.
I got mine for $30 a piece. I was like, this is the time. I think I said on the podcast, if it gets like to 25 and at like 20, I got it between 28 and 30. And I was like, yeah, this is close enough to 25.
Yep.
It's just the time to go. But like if you have that card, like you're like, I want to get off of this and turn this into pick a reserve list card.
Right.
Right. Like that makes more sense to me.
Mox Diamond.
Yeah, it makes more sense to me than saying like I have 10 Karns. It's like you can have 4 Karns and a Mox Diamond.
Yep.
And that is probably better for you long term.
Right.
Than having 10 Karns.
Yep.
Because they've shown that those expensive cards, they're just going to reprint them.
Right.
Because I mean, think about all the like the different master sets and stuff that have been done in the last like 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, you had like Ultimate Masters, was it M25?
Yep.
Gosh, what was before that? Iconic Masters.
Yep.
Had the Modern Masters set. Now we have Double Masters. Like they've just printed a ton of these.
Yeah, plus mystery boosters, plus Jumpstart.
We forget Battle Bond.
Modern Horizons.
Right, so they just keep making all these supplemental sets.
Mm-hmm.
And like if your card has value because it is being played, the way they're printing cards in the standard right now, it might not be played anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you're like, okay, I can get off this, I can get off engineered explosives before they like become unplayable in modern. Like say I had a time machine and could go back 6 months, right? I can get off these engineered explosives and then I can just buy them when they reprint them in 6 months.
Right.
And I can end up with some reserve list stuff. So I think that much like, money moves into gold when the economy's bad.
Yeah.
Right? Money might be moving into reserve list cards.
Because the economy's bad?
Well, because the economy's bad / if people looked at non-reserve list cards as investments, they're starting to see rather quickly.
Well, that's what I meant by the economy. I didn't mean like the actual economy being bad. I meant like the Magic.
Yeah, but like if you had non-reserve list cards as investments, they're basically saying you can't do that.
Right.
Because we are going to just print all of these cards into the dirt.
Oh, we forgot about Secret Lairs too.
Yeah, and Secret Lairs. Yep. Right? Like, we're just going to keep printing these things until we break you.
Yep.
So, I have thought about, like, would it make more sense to condense my collection and get more reserve list stuff? But most of my collection is playsets.
Right.
Where it's like, I have 4 Karns in case I want to play Karn.
Right.
I don't have
6 Karns, so you can move 2 of them.
Yeah, I don't have 60 Karns because I'm, I hit the lottery and thought I was going to invest in like colorless planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Right. Or like, oh hey, I have a bunch of Ugins, and now Ugins in like a standard legal set.
Core set, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
Went from $80 to $2.
Yeah.
Or $20.
Yeah. Or like Azusa. Things like that, where it's like, oh, I got this for $40, and it's like they've printed it twice now?
Twice, yeah.
In the last like year to 18 months?
Right.
And now it's $10. And it's like, oh, if I would have bought a $40 Badlands,
it'd be $300 now. Yeah.
And so I think that's like the biggest thing is like, reserve list stuff, and then you have here pseudo reserve list, but I just think like unique things.
Yeah, like what I meant was stuff that they can't, it's not easy for them to reprint, or stuff that they just can't reprint. And like I kind of broke this down into a couple different sections, and like this is the kind of stuff that I keep an eye out for now. The first being like unique effects and mechanics. Like you're not going to put, not that there's any energy cards that need to be, reprinted, but you can't just jam a random energy card into a commander deck or into a master's set.
Yeah, you
like
can't put Bristling
the supporting
Hydra.
Cards have to be there.
Yeah, you can't put Bristling Hydra in like a random master set.
Right, or like Aetherworks Marvel.
Yeah, it just can't happen.
Right, it doesn't work like that. Same thing with like Devotion. Like if you have a multicolored set or a colorless set, which master sets tend to be, you can't put Devotion in there because you don't have things that have, 2 and 3 pips on color. You know what I mean? The support really there. Another good example is Stoneforge Mystic. Like if there's no good equipment in the set, there's no reason to put Stoneforge Mystic in there.
I think the ultimate example of this for the longest time was Through the Breach.
Yes.
Remember when Through the Breach was like $50?
Yeah.
And it was just something that was hard to reprint because it had Arcane on it.
Right.
And so like it's hard to put this card with just this random one-off ability in your set unless it's Teferi.
Right.
But so for the longest time there'd be master sets and then they just wouldn't print Through the Breach.
Yeah.
And it was like it's just hard to reprint. So just like look for weird oddball mechanics, right?
Yeah, things that don't make sense without surrounding context.
There's a lot of the time spiral block cards that aren't super playable, but there are a handful that are or could be. And those are the kind of cards that like Wizard Cycling. Not that I'm telling you to buy the card that has Wizard Cycling on it, right? But like that's the only version of that mechanic.
Right.
Right? There's like 1 or 2 cards from Time Spiral. And like if you make a call that, hey, I think this card is going to be good and I don't think it's something that they can reprint. Yeah. That is something that you can make money there. Like let's say that you thought that, I don't know, Snapdax from Ikoria was in 3 years going to be the best creature you could play. It's not going to, but just work with me. Right?
Right.
It's really hard to throw a card that has mutate into a random set.
Yeah, a random core set or a random commander deck or
because
a random anything.
It has to have other cards that have mutate on it.
Yeah, otherwise it's just a bad Lightning Helix.
It's kind of like slivers.
Yeah.
Right? Slivers don't ever get reprinted because they take up so much space in the limited environment.
Right.
You have to vote your whole set to supporting slivers as a draft archetype.
Yep. That's the first subcategory is unique stuff. The second one that I had down here was things with specific names. They try to stay away from this now, but it used to be, lands in the set would be, or not just lands, but things would be named after the plane they're on. A good example of this is the fast lands from Scars. They were named after places on Mirrodin. So it's really hard to put Blackcleave Cliffs in a normal set because it's a place on Mirrodin. The set has to have some tie to Mirrodin in order for you to have Dark Slick Shores or Seachrome Coast or whatever. Those are actual places.
Same
it's not
with
like
the Pain Lands.
Yeah, Pain Lands are the same way.
They show up in core sets a lot because core sets get to go back and visit Dominaria.
Yeah. Also named characters like Avacyn or Kalidas, they're tied to a specific plane. So outside of, a core set or, a master set too, I guess, but outside of a place where it's tied to a specific plane, they can't really be reprinted.
Yeah, you can't put Avacyn on Kaladesh.
Right, it doesn't work. There's no way she can be there. Well,
Yes.
I mean, I guess there is with a planar bridge, but yeah, for the most part, she can't be there.
No, can't be there. Yeah, those just kind of get limit where they can be. It's okay, this can't just be in a random set. It has to be in a set that's at the same plane or a master's product. And depending on how often we get master's products, that limits how often those could show up.
Right. Yeah. The next that one's kind of iffy. I was kind of stretching there a little bit, but I mean, it makes sense. The Avacyn that's in this master's set didn't get reprinted for a long time. Or Angel of Hope or whatever. That was a $60 or $80 card because it didn't really have any good way to get reprinted. The next subset of cards is cards that don't currently work good under the rules.
Yeah.
And there's two ways to look at this. One is Oubliette took 27, 26 years to get reprinted because rules don't work the same way now that they did then. The way Oubliette was templated, it breaks the rules kind of. They actually had to change the way Oubliette works in order to reprint it.
Yeah, it now phases. But in Oubliette's defense, there was no templating in early Magic. It's hey, I want a card that does this. Okay, write exactly what you want the card to do. Exactly. Put the word hence in there. Just because.
Chains of Mistopheles.
Yeah.
The card just doesn't work under today's rule.
What is the smallest typeset we can put on a card? We need that for this card.
Yeah.
So
if you need a flow chart to know how to resolve your spell.
Yes. So things like that, and you have things that don't work well on Arena. That's a lot of old cards.
Yeah, I mean, not even old cards though. There's some recent cards that just don't work on Arena because they've changed the templating. And I know we talked about it before that the way Arena was programmed is that it actually reads the cards. You don't have to program the cards in. Arena can look at a card file and know what the cards do. So if you have cards that aren't templated the way that they are currently, Arena doesn't know what to do with them.
So I have a question. So then why do we keep talking about we have to program cards into Arena for Pioneer? If we can just feed it a card file, it reads the cards and goes, oh, I know how that works. Maybe you have to fix 3 or 4 cards. But why can't you just feed it, Shadows over Innistrad
That's
and
true.
it like spit out all the cards, and then I don't know, you can skip the animations or you can keep them.
Yeah,
don't care.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I don't remember exactly when the shift in like rules or templating was, but I mean it wasn't super long ago, but it wasn't super recent either. So I don't know.
They had to change cards in Ixalan, right? Ixalan is when they did the most recent templating shift, where we went from like a player or planeswalker to any target.
Any target, yeah.
Right. So because it, in the planeswalker redirection rule.
Yeah.
So like where it separated player from planeswalker. So it was relatively recent, but still just being grumpy old man. I mean, they want to put all of their sets on Arena.
Yeah.
So cards that don't work well on Arena are not great.
Right.
So you have Tide Hollow Sculler versus Brain Maggot or Kitesail Freebooter. So,
just as like, showing a templating change.
So Sculler it's the 2-line templating.
Right.
So Tide Hollow Sculler has 2 different triggers.
Right.
It has look at their hand, exile a card. Then it has if this leaves play, give them their card back.
Right.
Right. So if you can blink Tide Hollow Sculler with the first trigger on the stack, its second trigger resolves, and you just exile the card from the first trigger forever.
Right. Never get it back.
Where Brain Maggot or Kitesail Freebooter, it's all one clause.
Yeah,
so
they call it a delayed trigger, right?
Something like that. So basically, if Freebooter comes into play and you blink it, you never get to put a card under it from that first time it came into play.
Right.
Because you would have put the card under it and then would have put it back in their hand kind of all at the same time.
Right.
The other, like you have Oblivion Ring versus Banishing Light, which is an Oblivion Ring. Same deal. I guess the one that was the biggest was Fiend Hunter versus Banisher Priest.
Yeah. Yep.
Same
thing. A little
thing.
bit easier to blink creatures than enchantments.
Yeah, like Fiend Hunter had exile a creature, space when it other trigger when it leaves the battlefield, give it back. Where Banisher Priest, it was all together.
Yep.
So little templating things like that, where they're probably not going to put Tide Hollow Sculler in a set that goes in Arena.
Right. Just because it works differently than things do now.
Yes. So then also like cards that you should look to get are the pimped out version of cards that are just things that they're not going to print a lot of.
Well, not just a lot of, but they're not going to print again.
Yeah, like the Kaladesh Inventions are effectively on the reserve list because they're not going to go reprint that exact version of that card. Right,
that border, that artwork.
Yeah, so the Expeditions from
Zendikar,
the Invocations, kind of no matter how you felt about them.
Right, they're not getting reprinted.
Right, so
and then
oh, go ahead.
I was also going to throw in like the showcase cards. I know like this typically isn't, something people have thought about yet, I don't think. But the showcase cards probably aren't going to get reprinted either.
No, like if they're going to reprint a whatever
Brazen Borrower,
they're not going to they're going to reprint the regular art. They're not going to reprint the showcase.
The fairy tale, yeah.
Yeah. And so those I think are a little bit harder just because as of right now there's really only like 1 or 2 of them that kind of see like wide like eternal play. And that's where a lot of those cards, like the alternate versions, really shine in cards that are eternal playable.
Right.
Like Brazen Borrower, like if you have the showcase version, like hold on to that because that thing is going to only go up in value.
Right.
But like if you have, its cousin, Bone Crusher Giant, it probably doesn't hold the same value long term, more than likely.
Yeah, nobody's casting 2-mana shocks in Legacy.
No, but we are casting 2-mana boomerangs. We are casting just boomerang, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, those cards are all like, they're just not gonna get reprinted. And so if you can get them, especially with how, you're getting this a little late, but the prices for Double Masters cards
obscenely low.
Broken.
Yeah.
I might have already said this. I thought the Thought Seizes were going to be $100 for the borderless foils. They were $45.
Yep.
They went down to $40 or something. And like that, they were cheaper than the non-foils because everyone was just opening collector boosters.
Yeah.
And
so real quick on that, I know you mentioned that this might be too late. I don't think this is too late because of the way that Double Masters is being released. They had printed all of the VIP boosters and then went to go print the regular booster boxes, and printers shut down because of COVID. They did not get the complete print run of Double Masters printed like in the time that they needed to before release. So there is going to be at least one more wave of Double Masters, if not two, but there are not going to be any more VIP boosters. And the only way to get the foil borderless cards is in the VIP boosters. So I don't think that it's too late to pick up the foil borderless cards.
Okay.
I think that, and I don't think people fully realize that yet either. They are starting to come back up, so you did miss the bottom, but I still feel, even when you guys hear this, later on this week, I still feel that they're going to be underpriced compared to where they are going to be, especially the high played ones, like you said, Thoughtseize or Blood Moon, or like the Exploration. The Explorations have doubled already. I bought mine for like $36 over the weekend, and they're up to $60 now.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think that, if you get even if you get Thoughtseizes not at 45, if the foil ones are 60, I think the ceiling.
I still think you're doing good.
I think the ceiling on that card is probably 100 to 150.
Oh yeah. What are the invocation ones? They're like $100, right?
They're $100. They've been $100 since they were printed. I bought mine for $100 3 years ago, and they are $100 still.
Yeah, and I think that the new one's prettier.
Yeah, I do as well. The other thing, and this is where James has cornered the market, on me at least, is sealed product.
Yeah, I'm kind of a hoarder of sealed product. I have a whole wall of it over here. Sealed product is kind of weird because you have to have some measure of self-control, I guess, to not crack it. But you can't ever uncrack a box. You can always take sealed product and break it up into singles and sell it, but you can't ever put those singles back into the box to sell it as a box. So sealed product will only get harder to find as it ages. And it also has added value of being able to draft out of it. So typically the price of, a sealed box of whatever set is going to be sometimes significantly more, but usually, some amount more of the EV of the set, just because there's value in drafting it, and there's value because it's only going to get rarer as it ages. The one caveat I have here is I don't know what set boosters are going to do to sealed product, because you're kind of splitting the value of the draft out of the value of the sealed product. You know what I mean? Or out of the value of the singles.
Yeah, that is something that we hadn't thought about, right? Like a box of set booster loses the ability to draft it.
Right.
So how much of a box's value is the singles inside?
Right.
Versus the ability to draft it. Because some of it's hard to tease out, because Cons was a great draft environment, but it also had fetch lands in it.
Right.
So how much of the value of a Cons box is getting to be able to draft 5-color morph,
right,
Trail of Mystery deck, and how much of it is I think you pretty much got 3 to 4 fetch lands every box you opened.
Yep.
And and how much of it is just I'm going to get 3 fetches.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. That was a thought that I had while I was writing this up. And again, I don't think it's something that a lot of people are thinking about right now, but it is certainly going to affect, value of sealed product going forward. I just don't know to what extent.
Yeah. I know I have a few things like I've bought some, I guess what are they now? They're not fat packs. They were fat
bundles.
packs. Bundles.
They're bundles.
Back when every so often Barnes & Noble would have them and they would put them on clearance.
Yep.
My wife bought me a stack for like $10 a piece once. So I have a bunch of dragons and cons, I think.
Oh, okay.
Fat packs.
Those are good ones.
Or dragons and Fate Reforged, like high quality.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You can get fetches in Fate Reforged.
Yes, you can. They were in the land. They were in the like dual land slot.
Yep.
With the con set symbol on them.
Mm-hmm.
Good times.
If it wasn't confusing enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these are all reasonable ways to invest. I think it is getting harder to pick cards that you think are going to appreciate in value that aren't, reserve list cards or, like you said, random cards that are hard to reprint, like Grimflayer.
Yeah. Right.
Like you think, Grimflayers are going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
Okay. That card's hard to reprint because it's got Delirium.
Yep.
But, if, random rare from, I don't know, Hour of Devastation goes to $80.
Right.
There's really not a whole lot in that set they can't reprint. I guess if it had cycling. But they ran
Bomb.
You're in Bomb, yeah. But they just are okay, we can print that. Or I guess Ixalan. There's nothing.
Yeah.
They'll put a random card with Raid in a set. They'll just be here we go, whatever.
They have, yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, I think that the days of getting cards that are modern staples and trying to ride them up is kind of gone because of how many products we have.
Yeah, all of the products. So the last thing really quick, because my wife said when you're done recording you get the baby, is Arena. So we had the state of the game. The big thing that I think we already knew about was Amonkhet Remastered, which comes out this Thursday. We mentioned it at the top of the podcast. Yep.
So it's 338 cards that are a mashup of Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation.
And some random stuff.
And some ridiculously random stuff. Yeah. So random stuff like Pact of Negation, Thoughtseize, Collected Company, which I didn't see, Hornet Queen, Wrath of God, Rest in Peace. So I feel like they were trying to shoehorn some cards into
Pioneer,
historic, and then kind of seed some cards into Pioneer, so that when they do Pioneer Masters, they don't have to put Thoughtseize in it anymore.
Ta-da.
So, like we said, we're going to try to get a draft in at some point. Yep. So you can get this from Boosters, which is a step up from Jumpstart.
Right.
You can do sealed and drafts, and just like every other card on Arena, you can craft them.
Yep.
So they wanted to make a fun, limited experience that also involved Pact of Negation.
And Wrath of God.
Yeah, you know what makes a limited format really fun? 4-mana Wrath.
Right.
Are they just missing a color? Do they only have 5 drops? Oh no, they just 4-for-1'd me. Okay. that was a fun and enjoyable limited experience.
This limited environment also has Approach of the Second Sun, so get ready for that.
Oh. I took down a Pro Tour champion with Approach of the Second Sun. He was salty AF.
I can only imagine.
Good game. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Thank you.
Okay, then.
Cool. Good talk.
Yep.
So, they wanted to create interesting and repeatable limited player experience.
Sure.
The thing that worries me is if you remember Amonkhet, Amonkhet was probably the most aggressive format we have had since Zendikar.
Yeah.
And no, I didn't play Zendikar, but Zendikar is always like the 10 on the speed thing. And Exert.
Yeah.
Your cards have no text box unless you're attacking.
Certainly incentivizes you to attack.
And so you just beat down, and they have some of the better Exert creatures in the set, so that kind of worries me that it will be pretty aggressive. But then you had Hour, which was like all Dirtles all the time.
Right.
So maybe it comes out in the middle, or maybe you just can't play Dirtles.
Or maybe because it's a 340 card set, you run your Dirtle deck into the aggressive deck all day long because your pod was all Dirtles and the pod next to you was all aggressive.
Yeah. So their big goal for this was like providing support for Historic and Pioneer.
Yeah.
Eventually. I think an interesting thing that we could do once we have the full set list is, I don't know, the top 10 cards you want to craft if you want to play like Historic or Pioneer, because there's a lot of cards that like you don't need to touch. Like Glorybound Initiate, cards that house in limited.
Right.
You don't even bother to try to brew with it. No.
Glorybringer, on the other hand.
Glorybringer, get all them. That card is
right,
absurd.
but like that card you want to draft too.
You want to draft it. Yeah, you want to draft it, but you also like, if you're like, I'm going to spend 40 rare wild cards to get 10 playsets or something.
Yeah.
What are the 10 things you should get?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do that. I'll work on that. I think the set list will be out Wednesday.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll work on that and I'll post it in Discord. So hop over to our Discord and check that out while you're listening to this.
Yeah, we're old-timey paper boomers. We know all these cards.
That's right.
Yeah. The other kind of big change is Jumpstart ends soon. Like on the 16th?
Yeah, I think it is.
In my heart, Jumpstart ended 3 weeks ago.
It ended like the Monday after it began.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, and I'm done.
Yep.
Thank you for playing.
Yep.
And then they've started doing the like rotation refresh thing, where if you remember what happened last fall, we like you could earn access to cards from Throne of Eldraine. Like, I know. Was it all of the Sirs?
Well, it was the Brawl decks, right? They released the Brawl decks first.
Yeah, they did the Brawl decks, but you couldn't keep those.
Oh, yeah, that's
right.
true.
But then you got like Sir Farron.
Yeah.
Or Sir Conrad. For sure. So there are a couple cards that you could like play in special like future standard events. Right. They're bringing those back so you can play like your cards in what standard might look like, with 10 cards from the new set.
Yeah.
So they're doing that as well to kind of just get people ready for rotation.
And then the eggs coming back too. So if you remember last time we had rotation, they gave you kind of a bonus for playing through like the whole whatever and making it to rotation. And they give you like some booster packs and some individual card rewards and like a set of sleeves or something just to kind of help you through the rotation, because they know you can't play, the cards that are rotating out in standard anymore.
Yeah.
They did announce one more change to Brawl. If any of you guys play Brawl, I know I hop on once in a while when I need a change of pace from beating my face against Uros all day. But they said that they're going to try and improve matchmaking for Brawl, where the more powerful commanders, they're going to try and pair against more powerful commanders. And the jankier decks, they're going to try and pair against jankier decks, which is kind of nice. I mean, we'll see how it actually works, but
yeah.
And I think that was it.
They banned Rune Halo, and what was the other card? Gideon's Intervention.
Oh, okay.
In Brawl.
In Historic Brawl.
Well, Rune Halo is in current Brawl, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And then, in Historic Brawl, they're going to ban Rune Halo and Gideon's Intervention because they're going back to we don't want a single card that can just turn off a commander.
Right.
So, if your commander attacks, you're just like, Rune Halo, sucker.
Oops.
Oopsie.
Yeah.
So, So I think that's about everything for Arena. Sorry that went quick, but like I said, I got a parent, so I don't get divorced.
No, that's fine. We were running long. I had a feeling this episode.
Yeah, you were gone for a while, and then
you
had a lot to say.
Yeah, we had to spread all this stuff out. We had 3 weeks worth of stuff. We had to spread over 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, with that, I think we have a show.
I think we do. That is a wrap.
If you want to get at us on Twitter, you can find us at CasualTryPod.
Yep. You can also hit us up on Facebook at CasualTryHardMTG. If you want to drop us an email, you can do that at show@CasualTryHardMTG.com. If you want to check out any of our finance picks or have an idea about speculations or whatever, you can pick them up through TCG Player using our TCG affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. After following that link, whatever you purchase, we will get a very small sliver of that helps keep the show going. Every little bit helps. So make sure if you're going to pick anything up, you use that link. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg if you want to support us a little bit more directly. Patrons get access to our show notes the day before the show comes out. And we also, do a pre-show ramble, just kind of a couple friends catching up. And we record that and let you listen to it if you want to. Also, we didn't mention at the top of the show that we have a Discord, and the link for that is in the description. It's also on our Twitter and our Facebook. We pop in there pretty regularly to see what's going on. One of the perks of our Patreon is that we also have a Patreon-only finance room in our Discord that we tend to share our speculations and, spikes and whatever's going on in the finance world.
I think I definitely put up the price of Thoughtseize like 3 or 4 times as it was falling.
Yeah, everything that I was interested in, I watched pretty closely over the weekend, and it seemed like prices bottomed out like late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, and then they started to rise again. So, like I said earlier, I don't think you're too late if you get cards, the weekend after you guys are listening to this, because I still think the prices are going to climb, but you did probably miss the bottom.
Yeah, but if they're going to go up, like lock in your price now. If you can.
Yep, absolutely. So, there's certainly room to grow on most of them.
Yes. So, with that, we'll catch you on the internets.
We'll catch you guys on the interwebs.